For a large part, connecting with your audience is a question of good body language. But content is not to be underestimated. Right from the beginning, what will you tell your audience in your intro? How do you break the ice? Now, here's a practical mnemonic aid to help you. It's intro, icebreaker, necessity, timing, rules, and O. The O is actually 0 slides. I'll come back to that later. When you're faced with an audience, a tension is created. Between you and the audience, of course. Will they be willing to listen to me? Am I going to make mistakes? Are they going to ask me difficult questions? But also in the other direction. How long is this going to take? What will I learn from this? Is he or she a good speaker? It is up to you to ease that tension as quickly as possible. So that is what the icebreaker is for. Try out different options. A joke, however, be careful when you use humor. If the joke fails, then you can just pack your bags and leave. An anecdote, ask a question, a slogan or a catchphrase, a striking figure, a personal experience, etc., etc. Be original and go for the element of surprise. Now here's a couple of intros that always do the trick. Use, for instance, a shocking statement such as, more than half of all kids under the age of 12 have a smartphone. Or directly engage your audience in your story. I overheard a conversation during the coffee break just now, and I heard a lady say, and then you go on. Or you can tell a personal story and share that. When I did my first presentation, my legs were shaking so hard that I had to sit down. And that was the moment I decided to do something about it. There's a personal experience. Or ask the audience a question. Who came to this conference by car this morning? For instance, when you're speaking at a conference on green energy. Avoid, however, cliches. For instance, it is an honor for me to speak here in front of you. Never introduce yourself. My name is John Smith and I live in Berkshire and I work for the NHS. And do not apologize for nothing. I haven't had the time to prepare well. It is what it is. Your intro will set the tone. It will allow you to create rapport. Make sure the icebreaker is good. It has to come out in one fluent motion, so memorize it. Practicing out loud is essential, and this is even more so for your intro. Do not hesitate to immediately clarify that you are going to meet your audience's expectations. You provide an answer to their question, what's in it for me? You make a promise to them. When you leave the room later on, you will know all about this and that. Why is your presentation one that they cannot miss out on? That's the necessity of your talk. This is the moment when you mention your 3 key messages for the first time. Do it briefly and try not to sum them up, but put them in one full sentence. Here's an example of how it's not done. First of all, I would like to take a look at last term's figures. Secondly, I would like to discuss our goals for the next quarter. And thirdly, I would like to point out which action points we will have to define. It works, but it works better if you do it like this. I want to discuss last term's figures with you and have a closer look into the expectations for the near future. And this will allow us to define a number of action points. Can you hear the difference? Okay. As a speaker, you are in charge. You pull the reins. This also means that you are the master of timing. Point out at the beginning of your presentation how long you are going to speak for. You actually take your audience by the hand and lead them for a certain amount of time. Closely related to this timing are the so-called rules. You set out the rules for the game you are going to play. You can make arrangements with regard to the use of smartphones or laptops, but more important is to make clear how you are going to handle questions from the audience. Are you happy taking questions as they come along, or do you prefer a Q&A session at the end of your presentation? Whichever option you choose, tell them about it. The O in intro is really a 0. It means no slides, during your introduction. The light coming from your screen is taking up so much attention that the audience will never fully focus on you as a speaker. Think of a television set playing in the background of a noisy bar or restaurant. You don't want to watch it, but somehow you are just drawn to it. Even when you're on a holiday in Turkey and you don't understand a word of what is being said, your attention will still be drawn to that screen. At the beginning of your presentation, all the attention should go to you, not to the screen. We've mentioned it earlier. The first thing an audience does is watch. A fraction of a second later, it will start to listen and eventually understand what you're talking about. That sequence requires a relative amount of time. Allow your audience the time to scan you, to get used to the sound of your voice and to be dragged into your story. Do not add extra info to your slides. It will only add clutter to your message.